I knocked out Anderson Silva and became a champion before horror injury. Now I'm back after 847 days to win another UFC title. Disclaimer. Graphic warning below. Chris Weidman's 847-day injury layoff will end at UFC 292. The former middleweight champion hasn't fought since suffering a horrific leg break seconds into his fight with Uriah Hall at UFC 261 on the 24th of April 2021. Weidman screamed in pain before being carried out of the Octagon in what remains one of the most harrowing scenes in MMA history. It seemed unlikely the 39-year-old would ever fight again, and at one point, he was concerned that the seriousness of the injury may lead to his leg being amputated. Thankfully, the American made a full recovery and is now set to face longtime 185-pound contender Brad Tavares in Boston on Saturday. Ahead of his highly anticipated comeback fight, Weidman has revisited the life-changing moment he threw a kick and snapped his leg more than 2 years ago. "I just wound up and kicked as hard as I possibly could," he said. Kaboom! The pain was just brutal. The whole thing was a nightmare. The biggest thing for me was, I want to be able to roll around with my kids, play with them and play sports with them outside. The idea of not being able to do that again, that was hard. The whole thing was a complete nightmare, really long and tough to get through. The man who famously became a UFC champion by knocking out Anderson Silva to end his legendary run of title defenses, is confident he's still got what it takes to beat the best. "I'm a good example of whatever injuries or setbacks you have, that doesn't mean it's the end of what you want to accomplish," Weidman added. "My story is not done yet. I'm about to come back and accomplish some big things in the UFC. I want to show that this time off was not just me recovering, it was me getting better and better. I have the ability to become the best in the world and become a world champion again." Weidman not only has to contend with returning from a truly awful injury, but he also has to overcome the run of poor form that preceded his hiatus from MMA. The UFC fan favorite may be most remembered for his back-to-back wins over Silva, but he also managed to KO Vitor Belfort and Lyoto Machida during his 13-0 start in the sport. However, his career started to fall apart at UFC 194 in December 2015. Weidman suffered a fourth-round TKO loss and never really recovered as he went on to suffer subsequent stoppage defeats to 4 more top contenders. During that time, he secured wins over Kelvin Gastelum and Omari Akhmedov despite appearing to be past his prime. A victory over Tavares will be a decent start to his latest title charge, but he will need at least a couple more wins before people start to view him as a potential threat to Israel Adesanya's reign. If he loses at UFC 292, Weidman may call time on his career.